The day Earth joined the Galactic Council was supposed to be humanity's greatest achievement. 50 years had passed since humans first discovered faster-than-light travel, and now they stood among the stars as equals. Jack Novak straightened his formal diplomatic uniform as he walked through the massive crystal doors of the council chambers. As Earth's first ambassador, the weight of 7 billion hopes rested on his shoulders. The chamber stretched upward for what seemed like miles, with thousands of seats arranged in perfect circles around a central speaking platform. "Ambassador Novak, please approach," said a melodic voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Jack walked forward, trying not to stare at the incredible variety of beings that filled the chamber. The Exorians, with their translucent blue skin that revealed complex patterns of light beneath. The Withdrawal, who existed as clouds of intelligent gas, contained in ornate mechanical suits. The insectoid Thazic, whose compound eyes reflected the chamber's light in hypnotic patterns. "Humanity is welcome to the galactic community," announced Elder Zextol, a being so ancient that rumors claimed he remembered the formation of the council itself. "Your species has shown remarkable progress in a very short time." There was something in the elder's tone that Jack couldn't quite place. Pride? No, perhaps it was closer to amusement. The integration process moved quickly. Within months, human scientists were sharing offices with aliens, learning about technologies they had only dreamed of. Human goods, especially Earth's rich variety of foods, music, and art, became highly sought after in council space. But problems began to surface. Susan Riley, head of Earth's research division, brought her concerns to Jack's office one evening. "They're blocking every significant research proposal we submit," she said, tossing a datapad onto his desk. "This new propulsion system we developed. They're saying it needs 50 years of safety testing before approval." Jack frowned. "That seems excessive." "It's not just excessive, Jack. Our scientists tested it for 3 years. It works perfectly. The council is deliberately slowing us down." Similar reports came from other departments. Human colony proposals were denied for environmental assessment. Military technology was restricted for security concerns. Even medical advances faced endless committees and review boards. During the 5th anniversary of Earth's membership, Jack met privately with Council Elder Zextol at a diplomatic reception. "My people are growing frustrated," Jack said carefully. "We joined as equals, but we're being treated like children." The elder's facial membranes rippled in what Jack had learned was their version of a smile. "All young species feel this way at first. The Council has guided galactic development for 20,000 years. Your species has been traveling the stars for barely half a century. Patience will serve you well." "Patience shouldn't mean stagnation," Jack replied. "Progress must be measured and controlled," said Zextol. "Too rapid advancement leads to chaos." That night, Jack sent an encrypted message back to Earth's government. The message was simple. The Council doesn't want partners. They want subjects. Over the next few years, tensions grew. Earth continued making technological advances in secret, bypassing Council regulations. When the Thazic delegation proposed new restrictions on human colonization efforts, the breaking point was reached. Lisa Hernandez, who had replaced Jack as Earth's ambassador, stood before the council and delivered what would become famous as the Autonomy Address. "Humanity came here seeking friendship and cooperation," she said, her voice steady despite the murmurs filling the chamber. "Instead, we found a system designed to limit growth and preserve the status quo. If partnership means submission, then perhaps partnership is not humanity's path." The council chamber erupted in protests, but Lisa's words had struck home. Back on Earth, leaders began seriously discussing an option that had once seemed unthinkable: withdrawal from the Galactic Council. 50 years into council membership, the relationship between humanity and the galactic community had grown increasingly strained. Earth had established 17 successful colonies across different star systems. Human scientists had created faster-than-light communication technology that was more efficient than anything the council races possessed. Yet each achievement was met with new restrictions. Alan Porter, Earth's Defense Secretary, paced the conference room during an emergency meeting of Earth's Galactic Affairs Committee. The Council claims our new quantum communication system needs 3 decades of testing before approval, he said, his frustration evident. Meanwhile, they've placed observers on all our colony worlds to ensure compliance with Council regulations. The committee members exchanged troubled glances. What had begun as an exciting partnership had evolved into something that felt increasingly like supervision. "They're not mentors," Susan Riley said. "They're gatekeepers." The final breaking point came during what was supposed to be a routine council session. The Thasic delegation proposed new restrictions on human expansion, citing concerns about ecological impact on uninhabited worlds. Lisa Hernandez, Earth's ambassador, requested permission to address the full council. As she stood on the central platform, thousands of alien eyes focused on her. "For 50 years, humanity has respected council guidance," she began. "We have followed your protocols, submitted to your reviews, and accepted your restrictions. But we must ask, when does guidance become control? When does protection become imprisonment?" The chamber fell silent as Lisa continued. "Every human innovation is restricted. Every human colony is monitored. Every human proposal is delayed by decades of unnecessary review. This is not partnership." Council Elder Zex Tull rose from his seat, his ancient voice echoing through the chamber. "Ambassador Hernandez, you speak from the impatience of youth. The Council's processes have maintained peace for 20,000 years. "Perhaps," Lisa replied, "but at what cost? Peace through stagnation is not the future humanity envisions." The speech became known as the Autonomy Address and was broadcast throughout human space. Public opinion shifted rapidly as humans realized the true nature of their relationship with the Council. President Diane Wright called for a global referendum. The question was simple: should Earth maintain its membership in the Galactic Council? The vote wasn't unanimous. Some feared the consequences of isolation. But the result was clear. 78% voted to withdraw. 3 months later, Lisa Hernandez stood before the Council one final time. "Humanity joined this Council in search of cooperation and mutual growth," she said. "We have concluded that these goals cannot be achieved within the current structure. Therefore, as of today, Earth and all human colonies are formally withdrawing from the Galactic Council." The reaction was immediate and harsh. Council Elder Zex Tull announced comprehensive sanctions against human worlds. Travel between Council space and human territory was forbidden. Trade was suspended. Diplomatic relations were severed. "They think they're punishing us," Steve Chen, Earth's economic minister, remarked during the emergency response meeting. "But they've just removed all the barriers to our advancement." He was right. Freed from Council restrictions, human innovation accelerated dramatically. Quantum transportation networks connected the colonies. Artificial gravity manipulation transformed ship design. Biomechanical interfaces revolutionized medicine. Within 10 years, the human sphere had expanded to more than 40 star systems. Without Council oversight, each colony developed its own unique culture and specialties. Some focused on scientific research, others on agriculture or manufacturing. The Council had expected humanity to come crawling back, weakened by isolation. Instead, human space thrived. Reports smuggled through the blockade indicated growing unrest among younger Council species who witnessed humanity's prosperity. No one realized it yet, but humanity's departure had started cracks in the foundation of the 20,000-year-old Galactic Council, cracks that would soon become impossible to ignore. The formal withdrawal of humanity from the Galactic Council happened faster than anyone expected. Once the decision was made, Earth moved quickly to bring all representatives home and secure its borders. President Diane Wright addressed the United Nations of Earth from the global capital in Geneva. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We entered the galactic community with hopes of friendship and cooperation. We leave it now not out of anger, but out of necessity. Humanity must follow its own path forward. The Council's response was swift and severe. All human ships were banned from Council space. Any Council species caught trading with humans would face serious penalties. Diplomatic channels were shut down completely. For the first few months, there was fear. Some Earth politicians predicted economic collapse without access to alien markets. Others worried about military action from the Council races. Neither happened. Steve Chen, Earth's economic minister, had prepared for this moment. "The Council needs us more than we need them," he told the Emergency Economic Summit. "They've become dependent on our agricultural exports, our entertainment, even our raw materials. We just need to adapt." Adapt they did. Human colonies that had specialized in producing goods for alien markets shifted to support the needs of other human worlds. New trade routes were established, avoiding Council space entirely. The economic disruption lasted less than a year before growth resumed. Without Council restrictions, human innovation flourished. The scientific community, freed from lengthy approval processes, developed technologies that would have taken centuries to gain Council acceptance. Dr. Maya Wilson's quantum entanglement drive allowed ships to travel between star systems in days rather than weeks. Professor Gary Baker's adaptive terraforming techniques accelerated colony development. The Harris Dias medical nanites revolutionized healthcare across human space. The human sphere expanded rapidly. New colonies were established following human protocols rather than the Council's restrictive guidelines. Within 15 years, humanity controlled more than 50 star systems, far more than they had been allowed to settle during their entire time in the Council. Not all Council species observed the embargo. The edges of human space saw increasing traffic from smugglers and traders willing to risk Council penalties for access to human goods and technology. Commander Kara Johnson of the border patrol vessel Ease Horizon intercepted dozens of such ships. During one notable encounter, she stopped a Vrol transport that appeared to be smuggling banned human entertainment into Council space. "We're not just carrying cargo," the Vrol captain admitted after being captured. "We have passengers seeking asylum in human territory." This was unexpected. When Kara searched the ship, she found members of 7 different Council species hiding in cargo containers. "Why risk so much to reach human space?" she asked one of them, a young Xorian whose crystalline skin had barely begun to develop adult patterns. "The Council is dying," the Xorian replied. "They just don't know it yet. The elder races maintain control by suppressing innovation. Your people showed us there's another way." Similar reports came from across the border. The younger Council species, those who had joined in the last millennium, were growing increasingly restless. Some openly questioned the wisdom of cutting ties with humanity. The Nephili, who had joined the Council just a century before humans, became the first to secretly re-establish diplomatic contact. Their ambassador, Rel Siv, met with President Wright at a remote colony outpost. "Your departure has revealed weaknesses in the Council that have existed for thousands of years," Rel Siv confessed. "The elder races fear change above all else. But the galaxy is changing whether they accept it or not." As human space prospered in isolation, the Council's unity began to fracture. The embargo they had imposed as punishment was instead becoming the catalyst for their own decline. The Council had never anticipated how deeply their embargo of humanity would affect their own systems. After 30 years of separation, the cracks in the ancient galactic order were becoming impossible to ignore. Kara Johnson, now Admiral of Earth's border fleet, received reports from all edges of human space. The number of alien ships seeking entry had increased tenfold in just 5 years. "They're not just coming for our goods anymore," she explained during the security briefing. "They're defecting." President Oliver Grant looked troubled as he studied the holographic map showing refugee movements. "How many species are we talking about?" 23 at last count," Kara replied. "Mostly the younger Council races, but we've even had some Thasic colonies requesting asylum." This was surprising news. The insectoid Thasic had been among the Council's founding species and had always been staunch traditionalists. The Council doesn't just control technology, explained Dr. Ben Morris, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist. They control information. For thousands of years, they've carefully managed what member species know about galactic history and each other. He gestured to the latest intelligence reports. Our departure created an information leak they couldn't plug. Council species are learning that advancement doesn't have to take millennia. They're seeing our colonies thrive without oversight. It's causing a philosophical crisis across Council space. The effects were most visible in trade. Despite the official embargo, black markets for human goods existed on nearly every Council world. Human music and art became symbols of rebellion. Young Xorians modified their crystalline bodies to resemble human forms. Vrol collectives adopted human names. Even the long-lived Thazic youth were painting their exoskeletons with human symbols. The Ease Horizon intercepted a smuggler vessel near the Proxima colony. Instead of the usual contraband, they found something unexpected: hundreds of data crystals containing Council historical records. They're paying us for our technology with their secrets, Kara told the president after reviewing the find. These records go back thousands of years, information the Council has kept hidden even from their own member species. The data revealed a pattern. Throughout its history, the Council had systematically suppressed species that developed too quickly. Some had been forced into isolation like humans. Others had been subjected to more direct interventions, engineered plagues that set their development back centuries, orchestrated civil conflicts that destroyed promising civilizations. They're not preserving peace, Steve Chen said after reviewing the evidence. They're preserving power. The most surprising development came when a Nephili diplomatic vessel arrived openly at Earth's orbital station. Ambassador Rel Siv requested an emergency meeting with human leadership. The Council is fracturing, the ambassador explained to the assembled human leaders. 8 species have announced their intention to withdraw. Following your example, the elder races are threatening military action to prevent it. This was unprecedented in the Council's 20,000-year history. The threat of internal warfare had human intelligence agencies working overtime to assess the potential impact. Eric Winters, Earth's intelligence director, delivered a sobering assessment. If the Council collapses chaotically, it could destabilize half the galaxy. Millions of worlds depend on Council supply chains and protection agreements. Are you suggesting we help preserve an organization that tried to keep us contained? Asked Defense Secretary Pamela Rodriguez. I'm suggesting we prepare for the consequences, Eric replied. Power vacuums rarely resolve peacefully. The human leadership faced a difficult decision. After 30 years of successful independence, should they remain isolated from Council affairs, or had the time come to re-engage with the galactic community, not as junior members, but as equals? Before they could decide, an urgent transmission arrived from the edge of known space. The message was brief but chilling. Unknown vessels have bypassed Council defenses. 3 worlds destroyed. Request immediate assistance. The galaxy was about to face a threat greater than political upheaval. The emergency session of Earth's Planetary Congress had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 47 human colonies packed the chamber, their faces grim as they watched the holographic display. Eric Winters, Earth's intelligence director, stood before them, pointing to the rapidly updating star map. Red markers showed the path of destruction spreading across what had once been secure Council space. 3 days ago, we received distress calls from the outer rim of Council territory, he explained. Unknown vessels emerged from the galactic void. They bypassed all defense systems and destroyed every settlement on 3 different worlds. The room was silent as the footage played. Massive black ships with strange geometric patterns carved into their hulls. Energy weapons unlike anything seen before cut through planetary shields as if they weren't there. Do we know who they are? President Grant asked. The Council is calling them the Void Heralds, Eric replied. They've made no attempts at communication. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. The Council has existed for 20,000 years, said Admiral Johnson. Surely they've faced threats before. Eric's expression darkened. That's the problem. They haven't. The Council's unified defense fleet hasn't fought a real battle in millennia. They maintained just enough forces to keep member species in line, not to defend against external threats. He pulled up another map showing the current position of Council forces. Their ships are outdated. Their tactics are ceremonial at best. They've lost every engagement so far. Defense Secretary Rodriguez folded her hands on the table. Why is this our problem? The Council made it clear 30 years ago that human affairs are separate from theirs. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Many shared her sentiment. The Council had tried to contain humanity, had cut them off completely when they left. Why should humans risk their lives for races that had rejected them? Because the Void Heralds won't stop with Council space, Eric said finally. Our projections show they'll reach human territory within a year if their advance continues. President Grant turned to the assembled representatives. We need to make a decision. Do we wait for this threat to reach our borders, or do we engage now, while it's still distant? The debate lasted for hours. Some argued for strengthening border defenses and letting the Council handle their own problems. Others pointed out that fighting the invaders in Council space would be strategically wiser than waiting for them to approach Earth. Amy Rodriguez, the representative from Proxima Centauri, had remained silent throughout the debate. As one of the youngest colony leaders, she rarely spoke at such high-level meetings, but now she stood and requested permission to address the Congress. 30 years ago, we left the Council because they wanted to control us, to limit our potential, she said, her voice clear despite her nervousness. They called us dangerous and unpredictable. They said we couldn't be trusted with advanced technology. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of the older representatives. If we turn our backs on them now, we prove them right. We become exactly what they feared, a species that cares only for itself. Is that the legacy we want to create? The room fell silent as her words sank in. I'm not suggesting we rejoin the Council, Amy continued. But if we have the power to help and choose not to, what does that say about humanity? The vote that followed was close, but decisive. Earth would send aid to the Council worlds under attack. Not out of obligation, but out of principle. Within 24 hours, the largest human fleet ever assembled began preparations for deployment. Admiral Johnson would lead the expedition, accompanied by diplomatic personnel authorized to negotiate terms of cooperation with Council forces. As the massive ships prepared for departure, few realized they were about to change the course of galactic history forever. The human fleet arrived at the edge of Cthorian space, just as the Void Heralds launched their fourth wave of attacks. 117 ships, the most powerful vessels humanity had ever built, dropped out of quantum space in perfect formation. From the bridge of the flagship EA's Defender, Admiral Frank Donovan watched the battle unfolding on the main display. The Council forces were in disarray, their ancient battle patterns breaking down under the relentless assault of the Void Heralds. They're fighting like it's a ceremony, not a war, Frank observed. No adaptation, no flexible response. The Xorian homeworld's orbital defenses were failing. 3 Council defense platforms had already been destroyed, and the remaining 2 wouldn't last much longer. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Open a channel to all Council vessels, Frank ordered. The communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Frank Donovan of the Earth Alliance. We're here to help. Stand by for tactical coordination. The response was immediate, a mixture of relief, suspicion, and confusion. Human vessels, this is Thasic War Leader Kreestak. Your presence in Council space is forbidden. Withdraw immediately. Frank allowed himself a small smile. Even facing extinction, the Council races clung to their protocols. With respect, War Leader, we can argue about borders after we save your people. My tactical officer is sending new formation instructions now. Follow them exactly. There was a pause before the Thasic commander responded. We do not take orders from. The transmission cut off as a Void Herald beam sliced through another defense platform. "They'll cooperate now," Frank said grimly. He was right. As the human ships moved into position, creating a defensive screen between the attackers and the Exorian homeworld, the Council vessels fell in behind them. What followed was unlike any battle in Council history. Human ships moved in unpredictable patterns, their adaptive shields adjusting to the Void Herald's energy weapons. Council vessels provided power support and defensive capabilities that allowed the human ships to focus on offense. The human crews had trained for years in simulated combat scenarios. The Council forces had no such experience, but they learned quickly when survival depended on it. "Their ships are interconnected somehow," reported Science Officer Kelly Martinez after analyzing the enemy movements. "They operate as a single organism rather than individual vessels." Frank studied the patterns. "Then we need to find the brain. All ships, focus fire on the central vessel with the spiral markings." The combined fleet executed the strategy perfectly. Human quantum torpedoes broke through the Void Herald defenses, while Council energy beams kept their smaller ships occupied. When the central vessel began to retreat, Frank made a decision that shocked the Council commanders. "All ships pursue. Don't let them regroup." This aggressive tactic violated thousands of years of Council military doctrine, which emphasized defensive positioning above all else. But the human captains didn't hesitate, and after a moment's confusion, the Council ships followed. The pursuit took them deep into the void between star systems. When they finally cornered the damaged Void Herald command ship, the combined fleet launched a coordinated attack that the invaders couldn't withstand. As the enemy vessel broke apart, the remaining Void Heralds scattered in confusion. Without central coordination, they became vulnerable, and the fleet methodically eliminated them one by one. Hours later, Frank stood in the conference room of his ship, facing a delegation of Council military leaders. "Your tactics were unorthodox," said Kreestak, the Thasic war leader, "but effective." Before Frank could respond, a much older being entered the room. Council Elder Zextol himself had come aboard the human vessel. "Admiral Donovan," the ancient being said, his voice betraying genuine emotion for the first time in their encounters. "We miscalculated, not just about the threat, but about humanity's nature." Frank nodded slightly. "Understanding often comes from unexpected places, Elder." "Indeed," Zextol replied. "And sometimes, the student becomes the teacher." 1 year after the Battle of Exor Prime, humanity received a formal message from the Galactic Council. Unlike the cold diplomatic notes of the past, this one came as a direct holographic transmission from the full Council Assembly. Nickel Baker, newly appointed as Earth's diplomatic representative, stood with President Grant as they received the transmission in the Grand Hall of Unity on Earth. "People of Earth and the human colonies," began Council Elder Zextol, his ancient voice carrying none of the condescension that had once been his trademark. "The Galactic Council extends an invitation to humanity to rejoin our community of species." President Grant raised an eyebrow. This was unexpected. The Elder continued, "The terms we offer are unprecedented in our 20,000-year history. Humanity would hold a permanent seat on the Council's inner circle. All species would have greater autonomy over their own development. The ancient restrictions that led to your departure would be permanently removed." When the transmission ended, the room erupted in discussion. After 30 years of independence, was rejoining the Council the right move? Many humans had built their lives around the idea that Earth was better off alone. "We should put it to a vote," suggested Defense Secretary Rodriguez, "just like we did when we left." 5 years after humanity rejoined the reformed Galactic Council, the monitoring stations at the edge of the galaxy detected unusual energy signatures. The patterns matched those of the Void Heralds, but with concerning differences. They were stronger, more organized, and approaching from multiple vectors simultaneously. Emma Novak, granddaughter of Jack Novak, and now a senior officer in the Joint Species Defense Force, studied the data with growing concern. As head of the Early Warning Division, She was responsible for analyzing potential threats before they reached populated systems. "They've adapted," she told the emergency session of the Defense Council. Representatives from 12 species sat around the circular table, their faces showing varying degrees of alarm. "The Void Heralds we faced before were just scouts. This is the main force." Admiral Carlos Rivera, who had served under Frank Donovan during the first conflict, leaned forward. "How long do we have?" 3 months at their current speed, Emma replied. "Maybe less if they accelerate." The Council had spent the last 5 years preparing for this moment. Every major species had contributed to the unified defense strategy. The Exorians had developed enhanced shield technology. The Thazic had created new weapon systems based on human designs. Even the Vrol had found ways to use their gaseous nature to create undetectable scout ships. "Activate Protocol Vigilance," ordered Grand Defender Kreese Tak, who now served as the Supreme Military Commander of Council forces. "All civilian outposts beyond the inner defense perimeter must begin evacuation immediately." Within days, the largest combined fleet in galactic history assembled at strategic points throughout Council space. Unlike the disorganized response to the first Void Herald attack, this operation followed detailed plans developed through years of joint training exercises. Emma found herself aboard the flagship Harmony, the first vessel built collaboratively by multiple species. Its human-designed quantum engines, Thorian shield matrix, and Thazic weapons systems made it the most advanced ship ever created. "Your grandfather would be proud," said Elder Zex Toll, who had surprised everyone by volunteering to serve as a cultural liaison aboard the vessel. The ancient being had transformed over the years, embracing change rather than fearing it. "He always believed cooperation was possible," Emma replied, "even when it seemed impossible." The first engagement with the Void Herald main force occurred near the abandoned Rithik system. The battle was unlike anything recorded in Council history. The Heralds had indeed adapted, their ships now capable of predicting standard human tactics. But the Council forces had something the enemy couldn't anticipate: true diversity of thought and approach. When the Heralds adjusted to counter-human attack patterns, the Thazic commanders took the lead with entirely different strategies. When the enemy adapted again, the Thorians implemented maneuvers impossible for any other species to execute. This constant shifting between species-specific tactics kept the Void Heralds off balance. After 3 days of continuous fighting, the enemy withdrew to regroup. "They're learning," Emma observed during the tactical review. "But so are we." The war would continue for 2 more years, pushing both sides to their limits. But unlike the isolated Council of the past, this new galactic alliance grew stronger with each challenge. Species that had once been kept separate now shared knowledge freely. Technologies evolved rapidly as different approaches merged into new solutions. When the final battle came at the edge of the galactic void, the Void Heralds faced something they couldn't defeat: a unified galaxy that valued both tradition and innovation, stability and adaptation. As the last enemy ships retreated into the darkness between galaxies, Emma stood on the observation deck of the Harmony with representatives from 20 different species. Together, they watched the stars of their shared home. "My grandfather told me once that understanding often requires separation," she said to Elder Zex Toll. Humanity had to leave for the Council to see its flaws. The Council had to falter for humanity to recognize the value of its ancient wisdom. The Elder's crystalline form reflected the starlight. "The oldest truth in the universe. Balance is found not in isolation, but in the harmony of opposites." As the victorious fleet returned home, they carried with them not just the knowledge of victory, but the certainty that whatever threats the future might hold, they would face them together.